shout out to Techstars and WP Engine. That's actually where I work. And my name is Rachel. So without further ado, our first speaker has been doing this since before Google. He started at Yahoo, and he's done SEO with companies like HP, and he just knows his stuff. So welcome, Paul O'Brien.
Oh. Do these work? Can you all hear me if I just talk? Does mics work, or do I need that back there? Yeah. Stay back a bit. Yeah. All right. So, I have been doing search marketing for about 18 years. A very, very long time. I started at Yahoo before Google was even around. Had fun with their acquisition of Overture, got into paid search through that business. And then at HP, I was responsible for developing their search strategy. And that too was about 15 years ago. Since then, and part of the reason I think I'm here today, since then I moved into startups and even venture capital. And so a lot of the thought work that I put with regard to search has to do with what it is that founders in particular need to know and need to do. And I don't approach it as much from the standpoint of search marketing or SEO anymore. I'm not an agency, I'm not a consultant in SEO. I can tell you how to do it, I can teach you how to do it. But I actually like to think about the implications of search engines on what it is that we're all doing today. And in particular, since it's Austin Startup Week, I thought it would be interesting to talk about what it means to investors. What are investors looking for? What does it mean if you are or are not in search engines? And how can you as a founder deal with search as an opportunity for your business in as simple and easy way as possible? I don't want you worrying about all the technical stuff and how to do search marketing and how to do SEO in this talk, because there's more than enough information out there about how to learn how to do SEO. What I want to share with you are some thoughts as to what founders really need to think about when it comes to things like Google. Okay? So I'm curious first, what's the kind of makeup of the room? Do we have startup founders today? Awesome. Half good marketing folks. The other half makes sense. People that work specifically in search, who can question me, keep me straight. Thank you. All right. In the interest of BuzzFeed, I went with something like this, right? The 8 things that you need to know. Being viral, right? Being like BuzzFeed is an important part of search. And there's a reason why that's the case. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. And that's why I'm pretty pleased that WP Engine has put together a talk that includes not just search marketing, but social media, because today those two things essentially are sisters of one another. In the very first startup that I was involved with, David Karlik, who was one of the founders of DoubleClick, shared with me when we started pitching the startup, he was an angel investor at that point, shared with me that I can't find your startup in Google. As far as I'm concerned, you guys don't exist. And he sent us home. As an investor, he was essentially saying to us that you don't exist. You are not fundable simply because I'm looking for what you do on Google and you're not here. I was a hired CMO of a startup at that time. And indeed, the website that we had was very basic. We hadn't done anything yet to prepare it to show up in Google properly. What I'm giving you here is an example of what I'm talking about. Like I said, I work in DC. I work in venture capital in Austin. And what's intriguing about a search for angel investors in Austin is that we get some of the obvious things like AngelList. We get Austin Inno, a media site in town. We get ATX Seed Ventures, which is an angel group. But most of the angel investors, most of the angel groups in Austin don't even show up on a search result for angel investors in Austin. And so we as startup founders struggle to find the right people to fund our things simply because we're not appreciating, we're not recognizing that whether or not you think of search as relevant to your business, you need to consider it critically important to absolutely everything you do. If you're not in Google, you don't exist. Angel investors in town don't exist because they don't recognize the significance of the fact that we're in the information age. Right? The information age has completely changed the way we do business, not because of the internet, not because of websites, not because of search engines, but it's changed the behavior of people such that they expect to be able to find everything on demand whenever they want. Our job, your job, is to fulfill that demand. And what I get frustrated about in Austin is that we don't have enough people teaching how to do this properly. And so I'm showing you an example here where I actually own 2 of the results on the first page. 2 of the results. The first one that I've highlighted is roughly 5th on the page. That's my own website. I wrote an article about how to find angel investors. The second one is on Quora, a question and answer platform where I've addressed that same question. I own 2 of the results because folks in town are so poorly addressing this very obvious, very simple query that we startup founders need that I can fill up that space with my own results. And I'm thus kind of burdened with everybody asking me who the angel investors are. Does anybody know Kyle Bailey? Kyle Bailey's a great digital marketer in town. Okay? In spite of my claiming to know how to do all this stuff, it's constantly changing and we're constantly forgetting things. And Kyle, a couple of years ago, mentioned to me that he was excited to see me talking about this stuff all the time, but when he looks me up on Google, when he looks for my headshot to put it on his meetup page to show a picture of me, I wasn't there. I had neglected that searching for things, finding things related to you, to your business, to your founding team, to your board, to what it is that you're trying to do, the product or service you sell. There are a lot of different ways that you have to think about how people are going to search for you and the fact that you need to respond to that demand. And so I very quickly addressed that. I put up 3 headshots of myself. The very first result now is my website and my page. And I'm pointing that out not to make a point that you have to have headshots up, but to make the point that given what you do, you have to think of every conceivable query related to who you are and what your business is, and make sure you address that in search engines. The individual right here is a very famous soap opera star in Australia. A lot more famous than I am. I show up well ahead of him as the headshot for Paul O'Brien. Now, I've even had news media folks in Australia call me, thinking that I was the soap star, right? Making sure that you think about the fact that we're in the information age and you need to respond to the requests that people have for that information is critical. The way that you do that, the second thing I want you to think about, the way that you do that is simply think of Google as a person. Don't think of it as a search engine. Don't think of it as an algorithm. Don't think of it as constantly changing. Don't think of metadata and descriptions and all the code that your developers need to worry about. Think of Google simply as a person, as a startup founder, when it comes to appreciating what you need to do for Google. What is a person looking for? A high-quality business, good service, a fast website, a website that works, messaging that's consistent, right? If you're a mobile app, I'm looking for an iPhone app, I'm looking for an Android app. If you only have one, you're going to have a gap there. So put a page on your website that says our Android app is coming soon, right? Once you're in business, once you're promoting yourself, the person named Google expects to find you just like you do. Simply make sure that your website and your business and the experience that you have on the internet behaves like that person. An easy way to think about that with your web developers, with your marketing team, with your content team, is to think of your website like a library. Okay? Think of it like a library. Within that library are books. Those books have to have good titles, they have to have good covers, they have to have an index associated with them so people can find things, right? The library has to be laid out intuitively so that a person walking into the library knows that if they go over there, they're going to find fiction. If they go over there, they're going to find nonfiction. Search engine optimization is not complicated. It's really straightforward because Google simply behaves like a person and they're walking into your experience on the internet just as they would be a library. Okay? And if the covers to your books are tattered and torn, they're not as likely to find them. Right? If the person working at the front desk at the library doesn't know where to find your content in the library because you don't have a sitemap, you don't have an index, they're not able to direct people to the right places. So just encourage your team to simply think about the fact that we have a library and folks need to be able to find what's in the library. The reason I want you to think that simply is that the biggest mistake that startups make, particularly when they're pitching angel investors and VCs, is they talk about search, they talk about SEO, they talk about content marketing, as if it's a go-to-market strategy, as if it's a marketing channel. It is not at all. Search is not a marketing channel in the traditional sense, right? Because you're responding to demand that already exists for the product or service or business that you have. You're not creating that demand, right? This is part of the information age. And this search engine needs to provide that information to people who are looking for it. As a result of that, you have to think of it more like a practice. And you have to think about the fact that everybody on your team is a part of that practice. And that practice is constantly changing. Like a law firm, like a doctor's office, tomorrow the laws change. Next week there's a new medical device that changes what we do in the healthcare industry. You have to constantly be working with search engines. You have to constantly think about the fact that you're responding to every conceivable query related to your business if you intend to show up. Because again, all I want you to do is think about the fact that when you start to promote yourself, when you start to reach out to investors, when you reach out to the media because you want to get some coverage about your startup, the first thing they're going to do is look you up on Google. And if you're not there, you don't exist. Right? So just constantly be in the practice of treating search engines just like a doctor's office in which things are changing. Next thing I want you to think about is how everything affects Google. And that's why you have to think of it like a practice. That's why you have to think of it like an aspect of the information age. Every piece of conceivable information related to you, your business, your news coverage, what you're doing on Facebook, what you're doing on Twitter, what you're doing on LinkedIn, everything affects how Google perceives you and where they're going to have you show up in search results. Why? Because Google behaves like a person. It wants the most timely, most relevant, most valuable, most interesting result set. You can't fake, you can't game Google. Not entirely true because I do it, and I'll show it to you. But as a startup, right, you really have to be comfortable with the fact that people are looking for you. And what that means is you should be on Quora, that question and answer platform that I showed you in my first slide, answering questions related to your business. Why? Because search engine optimization is not just about your particular website. Right? People are going to be looking for you and expecting to find things about you on LinkedIn, and on Twitter, and on Quora, and on Yellow Pages, and on Yelp, depending on whatever your business does. And if you're not there, you don't exist. I, as an investor, see a gap. I see you missing something that's so obvious, that's so straightforward, that you need to be filling up that sale. You need to be there. And so when you're not there, as an investor, I'm immediately going to take a reservation and say, I'll come back when you make a little bit more progress. Right? Come back when you get a little more traction. To tie this conversation a bit into what Kate's going to be talking about, right? Social media is an important part of that. Google determines, search engines determine the timeliness of your content, the relevance of your content, the popularity of your content, based on a lot of different third-party signals, right? Links to your website, I'm sure you've heard about. Right? News related to your website or your business. Right? Likewise, though, engagement on social media. How many followers do you have on Facebook? How many fans do you have on Twitter? How often are things being retweeted and liked and shared? Right? It seems like a minor thing. We don't want to be doing social media. Right? My startup, we're not on Facebook. My customers aren't on Facebook. That's not the right way to think about it. Everyone is on Facebook. Everyone is on Twitter. Everyone is looking for information about your business. People should be sharing things about your business even if you're not. Right? And so when you're on social media, a very simple way to drive that engagement, to drive that demand, to connect everything together is to just constantly tag absolutely everybody that you might be talking about, whose content you might be sharing, whose articles you might be covering. The beautiful thing about social media is that tagging folks is a way to get their attention. Okay? And so you can start to think of how you can leverage social media to make Google think more highly of you, but at the same time, It's an invaluable sales and business development tool. On Monday, I gave a talk while Josh Baer and some folks were in Washington. I gave a talk about diversity. And the news, CBS, covered both the Washington meeting, South by South lawn, and covered our diversity talk over at Galvanize. And so I wrote that up on Facebook. And I mentioned everybody involved, the reporter for the article. I mentioned Congressman Doggett, who was involved. I mentioned all of the other panelists who were on my panel with me. I got a note from Congressman Doggett that night asking me to come down to San Antonio next week and talk about diversity. Cool, right? Wasn't my intention, but simply by thinking of my content marketing and the fact that I'm driving this engagement with my personal brand and my personal business for the sake of search, and tagging everybody affiliated with what I'm doing has driven more business for me, right? And there's no cost of doing that. That's why it's not a channel. It's not a marketing or advertising channel. It's simply a practice that your startup, that your entire team needs to be comfortable with practicing. Recall I said you can't game Google, and that's not entirely true. Was anybody on the Austin Startups group about 2 weeks ago when someone actually asked, who is the best SEO expert in Austin? 1, 2, maybe a couple. Okay. I found that question ironic, right? You're jumping on Facebook to ask who the best SEO expert in Austin is. And of course, a couple of people immediately replied and said, well, why wouldn't you just Google it? Wouldn't that give you the answer? Whoever shows up first in Google is going to be the obvious best person for SEO. I wasn't there at the time. Like I said, I don't really do SEO anymore, so I don't sell that service. But I very quickly wrote an article that said who was the best SEO expert in Austin. It took me 2 days to show up on that search result. 2 days. Now, the reason I'm showing that, though, is this next point that I want you to keep in mind. The reason it's a practice, the reason you need everybody involved, the reason you need to be thinking about social media as well, is because competition in your space changes everything overnight. Right? In the matter of 2 days, I became the third search result for the best person in Austin for SEO. Before that, I didn't even show up in the search results because I don't actually do SEO. And just for the sake of the irony of the question on Facebook, the article I wrote is that there is no such thing. There's no such thing as a best person for SEO, and there really isn't. Because when you think about all the different ways in which you have to think about how and where people are searching things, from videos to images to local listings to web pages to so on and so forth, lots of different people are going to have lots of different perspectives. So again, that's why you have to treat it in your organization like a practice. We're just constantly iterating and changing and improving what we're doing to react to the demand in the marketplace. 2 weeks later, I'm still up, which is interesting because it's not a very relevant result. 2 slides. I'm almost done. Long time ago, Brian Schreier from Sequoia shared with me in my transition from corporate marketing to startup marketing this idea of foundation, function, and finesse. So my image here is meant to give you a sense for the makeup involved here, right? And when you're creating a website, when you're creating your brand online, you really should be thinking of it in those 3 ways. And that's true of search marketing, that's true of SEO. It's true of social media. The foundation. The foundation in search is largely technical. Right? Go back to your web developers, go to your technical team, go to your CTO. If they don't know how to do SEO, send them some articles and start to teach them. Your web developers, your CTO needs to understand how search engines work. And what I found when I was in California is that that's common practice. Every developer there seems to know how search engines work. Here, not so much, right? Because we think of search, we think of SEO, we think of Google as a channel, as a marketing thing. It's not. If your website doesn't work well, if it's not hosted by WP Engine so that it's fast and secure and always up, right? All of those things will affect what Google thinks about your business. The foundation. You have the basics in place. The beauty of that foundation in SEO is it's fairly unchanging. There are a certain set of rules. You just need to learn them, know them, put them into practice. The functional stuff is things like content marketing, right? What are you writing about? Have you done research about the keywords? Do you understand who the competitors are? Do you know what the trends are in your industry? The functional stuff related to your everyday business is just as applicable here, which is why your entire team should be thinking about search. It should just be a part of the philosophy, a part of your practice of doing business. And then the finesse. And the finesse is PR, social media, customer service, sales, business development. Every other aspect of your business where people are out there talking about what you're doing, if they're not saying the same things about your business, if they're not saying what you want them to say about your business, if they're not telling compelling stories and viral stories about your business, you're not finessing what you're doing in any way that you actually develop a brand, you develop any business of interest or appeal to consumers or clients. And thus, the same thing is true of Google. If you're not finessing Google to keep it timely and interesting and so forth, it's going to lower you in the results compared to everybody else. Last thought, the big surprise, right? I kind of touched on this. It's not rocket science. Google it. And as we get into some QA, if you want to ask some questions about how search engines work, we could certainly do that. But like I said, I didn't want to explain how search works in a technical sense because I think you have enough opportunity to do that. My goal today was to think about it from the standpoint of the fact that we're startup entrepreneurs during Startup Week. And we have a few key objectives, right? We want to hire and recruit great people. We want to get the attention and exposure to the media. We want to get the support of the investment community, okay? If you're not in search results, you will fail to do that. I guarantee it. Simply because investors, like my peers, will actually tell you, how can I fund you? I looked you up and I see nothing but your competitors. Right? So make sure you head back in the office next week and look up the few articles that are out there that are incredibly straightforward and for the most part, highlight the same things that I'm highlighting. It is not a marketing channel. It's a process. It needs to be a part of your culture. It needs to be a part of what you do. If you're expecting to show up in 2 days like I did for that search result, that's unlikely. That's not exactly how it works. It takes time, right? You need to set expectations. You need to set plans, just like you do for everything else you're doing in marketing and as a business, in order to meet the expectations of people who are looking for you on the internet. Questions? Reactions? Thoughts?
So I'm Corey from Dallas, and I just recently was at an event called shop.org.
Yeah.
And in relation to your bit about tagging different companies and articles and things like that, do you think that, is there any boundaries to how you tag? Is there a limit that you put that on? Like, you know, would we tag shop.org just because we were there? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I prefer not putting any limits, honestly. Facebook will put limits. You can only tag so much before they don't let you tag anymore. On Twitter, I just tweet things more frequently, so I can tag a wider variety of things. There's no reason to tweet your article once, right? Tweet it 10 times in a bunch of different ways. No, I don't think of it in terms of any limits, frankly, because at the end of the day, you're doing two things, right? You're getting their attention. They're going to be grateful for that to some extent. Right? And two, it's called a World Wide Web for a reason. And a point that I didn't make, so thank you for asking this. I showed you Facebook and tagging things on Facebook. I want you to think of that also, though, in the context of your content marketing, whatever's on your website. Right? When you're writing blog posts and you're writing articles and you're a dead end, you don't tag other things, you don't link to other things, you don't cite references. If you mention that you saw my talk today and you don't link to my website, for instance, please. For instance, Google doesn't like that. You're a dead end, right? We're a part of the web. And the credibility of your content is dependent upon the fact that other people are saying the same thing, they're supporting you, they're reinforcing you, right? And so you want to link and you want to tag to other things as a form of validation. Okay? Besides the fact that they're going to acknowledge it and respond to it, which is valuable to what you're doing. Yeah.
What's your recommendation on a founder working on their company's brand versus their own personal brand online?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a tough question for this audience, given the fact that if you think about what investors are often seeking, it's important that they have an interest in you just as much as it is that they have an interest in your business, right? Investors fund teams first and foremost. And so the way I would think about approaching it is not that you need to work on your personal brand, but if your LinkedIn profile is dead, we're going to notice that. I'm going to notice that. How can I take you credibly as a biotech professional if when I look you up on the internet, you don't even show up as an individual of any note whatsoever, right? So just make sure your profiles on the internet are built, that you've got references, you've got recommendations, you've got a bit of history to what you do for a living. You don't have to develop a personal brand like I have, right? I have a personal brand because that is my business. But if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it's as extensive as my website. Does that help?
How do you turn that around? So you already have a personal brand, and now you're going to start your company. Is there ways to leverage that?
Oh yeah, without question. Without question. And it's a fun question because, so that's my personal brand. If you look up SEO Brian on the internet, you're going to find me. I'm not hard to find. I'm all over Twitter. I've needed to transition it because I picked up SEO Brian when I was at HP spending $120 million a year on search marketing. And I got to do speeches at search marketing conferences, even though I barely knew what I was doing at that point. I just spent a lot of money, and so it made me notable. So I picked up this personal brand. Now, then it was wonderful. SEO Brian, it's cute. My last name is actually O'Brien. Today it's a bit of a burden. I don't do SEO, really, anymore. And so I've tried to play with it in different ways and say, no, it's startup expert. It's search evangelist would work. But anything but SEO. Keep in mind it's a practice. I haven't written about SEO in 4 or 5 years on my website. And that's why that experiment that I had a couple of weeks ago was intriguing to me. That it took me that little effort to show up for a search query, or for an SEO query in Austin, because my website isn't considered a search-based or an SEO-based website anymore because I've evolved it, right? And I talk much more about Austin and venture capital and startups and that kind of stuff. You can certainly transition it. But yeah, be conscious of your personal brand and what that means and how it affects what people perceive of what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Carol O'Brien.
Yeah, hi.
Nice to meet you. So I want to tag on to that question about branding. As marketers, you kind of know that branding, consistency, staying the same message in multiple places. Now, how does that play with Google? We've all seen the search, options omitted because they're, repeated.
Yep.
So how does that play with Google? Do you want to maintain a consistent message and brand and et cetera? Or do you want a variety of things that Google disrupt?
The unfortunate answer is both. Do you want a consistent brand for the sake of really reinforcing that with Google, or do you want a variety of things? It's a practice. You have to think of everything because Google is a person. Today I'm looking for your brand and exactly what it is that you do. Tomorrow I'm looking for something ancillary, something loosely related to what you do. And so unfortunately you really have to think about both. You do want the consistency in the sense that a great way to think about what I mean by everything affecting Google is that search volume alone, the number of searches for SEO Brian, just as a keyword, affects how all of my content for everything else shows up relative to every other competitor that I have. Because Google's seeing that search for my brand as a signal that my brand is more interesting, it's more valid, it's more valuable than other things in the space. And so if somebody's just searching for an article about venture capital, because Google thinks SEO Brian is more relevant and credible, my venture capital article is going to float to the top a little bit more. Okay? But that's a good example of how to appreciate why both matter. Right? I want to reinforce SEO Brian, makes people look for it. Right? But then I also need to think of the long tail of searches, which is why we're creating a ton of content, which is why we're on social media, which is why I answer questions on Quora or LinkedIn or Medium. I answer things in other places, so that I can reach that longer tail of things related to what I do, capturing all of the folks that are interested in stuff that isn't necessarily directly related to who I am in my career.
This is a little out there, but I think in tech you kind of always want to think about disruption and staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Amazon Echo has made it a very clear case that in the future we might have a lot of voice search.
Yeah.
Have you given any thought to how that might change all of this strategy?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change it anytime soon, in the sense that it's not going to change the fundamentals, right? That's just the user experience. Mobile device search didn't really change much either, right? Other than it having a little bit more local context, perhaps. And so when you think about Internet of Things oriented voice search, the new Google News, moving into the same space as Echo, right? People in their homes just asking for things. It may shade it a little bit more towards things for the home or consumer goods or media or entertainment. But at the end of the day, the fundamentals are the same.
So you think it'd be like the same practice, but then they might just translate it into voice and then.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
We have time for one more question.
you bet.
Just kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about Quora, Reddit, Medium, all these platforms that you should be posting on and sort of using long tail keywords and sort of discussing your brand in that way.
Yep.
If you look at that versus LinkedIn, LinkedIn you basically have your profile, you have your title, everyone knows that you're promoting your business. On Quora, Reddit, Medium, since you're a personal brand, this is kind of more on the startup and company side, how do you want, or how would you recommend that profile be set up as sort of a, just a random user going in? You don't want to seem too, pushy, I guess, with answering a question with your brand in it, but
Right.
how would you recommend sort of taking that next step into a Quora or into a forum discussion without sort of promoting yourself?
Good question. So how do you participate in all the different social networks without promoting yourself too much? And that's a great question, because my point in showing you the way I talk on Facebook and that Quora result is to show that I don't promote myself as SEO Brian in those places, right? Keep in mind, search engines are trying to behave just like an individual. And so you as a business, your business should be thinking not of being in every one of those channels. There's no reason to be on all of them, right? You should be thinking about the reason that particular social network exists, whether or not you should be there, whether or not it's appropriate to what it is that you're doing, right? So if you are on LinkedIn, it's you. It's not your business, it's not your company, it's gotta be you, because that's what LinkedIn is.
Yeah.
If you're on Reddit, they're gonna kill you if you self-promote, right? But should you be on Reddit? Yeah, why not? There's a huge Austin community on Reddit. It's a great place to reach the audience, as long as you participate as a resident of Austin, right? And not as a company trying to push something. Should you be on Quora? Yeah, if you're answering questions as yourself, questions that are pertinent to what your business does, absolutely. But not because I'm business ABC, right? Rather because I'm an expert and I know this particular thing, and I hope I can help you get an answer to that, right? But I don't write on Medium very much, right? The Austin Startups domain is a Medium website. I don't do Medium. It's just not my thing, right? So pick where it makes sense for you to be engaged, but be cognizant of the fact that at the end of the day, people are just going to be looking for you on Google, and so you want to make sure you're responding to them there, wherever it makes sense for you to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. That was fantastic. I meant to mention this in the beginning. We did have 3 speakers on the panel. Lanny and Ben couldn't make it today. They wish they could. They had something come up. But that was a great intro to our next speaker. So she's CEO of KBJ Online. She's worked with top internet marketing companies doing global social campaigns in many different industries. And she goes by Kate Buck Jr. So yeah, welcome up.
Cool, thanks.
Is that a clicker? Or am I just using
There's none.
Hey everybody, nice to meet you all. Sorry, for the side audience as well. Okay, cool. With Lonnie and Ben not being able to present on content, I sort of changed up a little bit of my presentation at the moment, or for this morning, to concentrate a little bit on content as well as social. So, and not really having a sense of exactly all who was going to be in the room when they asked me to speak on social media and what I'm doing right now, and I thought to myself, what would I present on? My number one focus with my clients and in the different brands that I'm working with right now is optimizing video. We are doing it across all the social platforms, but given they only give you like 20 minutes to speak, I thought I would narrow it down to the elephant in the room and the one that is dominating most of my time and attention as well, which is Facebook. So is that okay with you guys? I know I'm like niching down really small in all of social. What could we possibly talk about? And we're going to talk about not only Facebook, which we're probably all kind of tired of talking about to some degree, I think. Even further, probably talking about video, but I think that will give you some light into what is working for us right now and how we're using it. So again, I ask, is that cool? Did I get a good? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Let's see. So again, who I am? I'm Kate Buck Jr. I have a little company called KBJ. I've just been doing social media for about 10 years now. Not a really long time. Started out in corporate and then went off on my own and for about the last 7 years working with different brands. So I have an agency, and then my main focus actually is in training social media professionals. So I spend a lot of time working with social media people in companies, helping them to proceduralize, to come up with a good process and workflow for what they're doing. But recently what we've been trying to do that with is scaling video in terms of production, like in-house assets, building an in-house video team. I feel like a few years ago, all social media managers had to become graphic designers all of a sudden, right? Because images and graphic content became so important. As I was going in training people, they're like, how do we create all this content? And now it's happening, or it has already been happening, but I'm seeing teams bring it in-house with video. So that's what we're gonna, again, concentrate on today. It's a little unstable there. So if it's the end of 2016 and you're not focusing on video content, anybody here like just not touched it at all yet? Is it not like a huge part of what percentage, throw out some percentages of your social marketing strategy you're concentrating on producing video content for social? 10, 20, 30%? Throw out some numbers. 80%, perfect, that's where I'm at. Where else, anybody? You guys are shy? Okay, we have one person and it's 80%. Okay, good, so everybody's 80%, that's awesome, good, okay. All right, well for me, this addressed a big issue, which is what we all talk about is post reach for publishers declining on Facebook. I can throw out all the little fun video stats, but when we talk about publishing reach is down, this is the one thing, this one little box down here in the corner that a video post will get a 135% greater organic reach than a photo post. Caught my attention and I went, okay, great, let's switch gears, and that was probably sometime last year. So it ended up being our life raft. It has ended up being our life raft on Facebook to save what were some thriving pages, and in some cases for some brands, some dying pages for revival. So I'm really just gonna go very, very tactical with you guys, so I hope that's cool. I'm gonna talk to you about the different types of video that we're producing, how we're thinking about what videos we want to produce, I'll answer questions about the teams and in-house and how we've set it all up and how we're promoting them as well. So I'll start with the types of them. So the first type that we really started working with were inspirational videos, and we pulled some clips together of some inspiring talks, little 5-10 second clips. This video is actually kind of long. It's almost 2 minutes, so it is on the longer end of our videos, but starting with inspirational videos, leading and maybe related but not necessarily related. So this company is a home business opportunity software company, and so we're reaching people who want to or have already started a home business, and so we want to inspire them. We want to inspire them to actually jump in and start their business. So seemingly unrelated, but really grabs. And I'm going to talk about some cool results from this video that you wouldn't expect from just compiling some clips of an inspirational video and using it as a post. Entertain. We've had the most fun coming up with entertaining videos, and it's kind of the one thing where I get a lot of questions from people about, you know, their business and everything is really like serious, and they want to do the educational. Everybody wants to focus on education, which will be my next one, and information posts about how do we entertain. And this was a video that we did for Father's Day. It ended up leading to a blog post that we did on Father's Day gift ideas, right? Most of which were products that we sell on our site, but just for fun and just to say, just to get something engaging and entertaining in front of the audience, we put together this almost like America's Funniest Home Video style Father's Day, thanks Dad, and all of these are, you know, fails, Dad doing home improvement and it totally failing, right? So it was funny, got shared a lot, and we got a lot of clicks to our website. All right, educate. This is probably the one we spend the most time on. It's the one we see a lot in the newsfeed too. This is your BuzzFeed tasty, top-down style and or informative, instructional, how to do this or that. We've applied this concept over a variety of markets, from makeup and beauty to crafts to, this is our survival market, which is a pretty fun place to be doing these videos. Let's see, you name it, we have applied this model in that area. So educate. Say thanks. So when we hit 1 million fans, we just put together a little video that said thank you. Yeah. We're using these also at different places in the funnel. So the say thanks is kind of a good example of one where we might do a retargeting campaign with video after a customer purchase, or after the customer hits a certain milestone in the CRM. We might do a retargeting campaign and just do a thank you video to them. And you can see these ones are super, super short. They're less than 30 seconds or right around 30 seconds. So it's just a really quick, you know, hi, hello, fun, engaging something in their newsfeed. We do product explainer videos also, different than the informative. So the informative is like how to, and maybe you want to use our product while you're doing it. And then we specifically have drilled down into product explainer videos as well, take our product and do X, Y, Z. I could go on and on about the different types. Again, I mentioned how we can also use them in a funnel, and I didn't put that into this presentation, or I'd probably be here for another hour just going through the different types and where they go in the funnel. But a testimonial video is another great way to use video in a retargeting campaign. So a customer comes to the site, checks out a product, leaves without buying, logs onto Facebook later and sees a testimonial from a customer about what they liked about your product. Great way to use video in that campaign. Behind the scenes, frequently asked questions. We're really having fun with the blooper stuff right now, the America's Funniest Home Video style entertaining stuff, because it's getting good results and we're having fun with it, you know, at the same time. So just a few ideas there on the types of videos that you can do. The main formats that we're using are like pre-produced news style videos. This is doing really well. A couple of our videos have, like this one, let's see, we've got about 53,000 views on this one. We have a couple of videos that are more newsworthy, that have done better than that. So we're just kind of doing news style videos. This one is for September, was National Preparedness Month. So we did 4 videos on 7 most dangerous types of animals in America, the different types of survival situations that you should prepare for, stuff like that. This one is probably our best video to date, and I have no idea why. The top-down videos. Of course, we're doing that in food, and we're doing it in a bunch of different markets, but we call this the chip bag hack video. It was about how to take a Cheetos bag and take the lid off of a baby wipe and put it on there. It seems silly. I ran across an example video of it, or somebody else doing it on YouTube, and we thought, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Let's try it. And we have almost 40 million views on that video to date. We tested a bunch of different stuff within the top. You're seeing a screen cap of the most recent. We really tried to do some direct response from it after it took off, thinking, okay, let's change out the description there and try to do some direct response from it. That didn't work, so note to self, it didn't work. But for engagement, it was really great. We got about 250,000 likes from that video. Yeah, I'll show you some page reach stat stuff. That's all thanks to this one little video that we put together in, I don't know, a day, something like that. And then of course, God, that was making me think I was like falling over for a second too. All right, and then of course on camera live action. We're not doing a lot of this because our objective is to not have face on brand, but of course if that's appropriate for you and what you do, you can have your on camera, and then Facebook Live, which I won't jump into the cheerleading squad for why everyone should be doing Facebook Live right now, because it's the only thing that'll get you into the newsfeed. I didn't say that with any sarcasm whatsoever, but right, if it's totally appropriate for you, you should definitely be doing it. Okay, so those are the kind of 3 styles. We're not really working on the on camera, but the other 2, the news style and the top down, we're seeing really good results from them. So let me show you the anatomy of this video post. I'm going to use mostly this inspirational post that I showed you first. We've got about 3 million total views on this post. We're targeting it to home business owners, people that follow figures in that space, influencers, other companies. So we know that people are in that whole network marketing space, right? And as targeted as that is, we're getting about $3.85 per 1,000 video views. So in terms of awareness, in terms of the objective awareness, in terms of scaling like reach and visibility, I don't know where else I can buy 1,000 video views or 1,000 impressions for $3.85 to my actual targeted leads. And that is why we have completely gone onto Facebook for a little while, because we're getting a really, really good return, or good result, excuse me, on the budget that we're spending. So one of the things that we did, that we patted ourselves on the back for later in this, is that we are sending them in all 3 of these places to, we've changed it out several different times. So one of the reasons that this video has so many views, and the social proof is there, is because we've run several different offers off of it. So we've run about 6 different offers, a handful of them off of there. So instead of having to go out and create a new ad and start over with social proof and figure out the targeting and all that stuff again, we're just using link masking, and we changing out the offer to different congruent offers, but to new offers that the company is promoting over time. So we're able to keep this ad just in the newsfeed and running, and we just go in and switch out the destination. Back on the chip bag hack, right? Once we ran into a problem there, because once we were promoting it and it was out there, we couldn't go back and change that description or that link. This was a separate campaign, and we figured out, oh, we should do that from now on everywhere in all the links that we do. So that's kind of the first key thing, is your links in your video posts. Send them different campaigns. That social proof is essential. Other little things that I would say to add in, obviously thumbnail, short image, things that you guys know, title, description. Also, like 90% of our views, and I'm probably reiterating something that you've already heard, 90% of our views do not have the sound on. So either do captions or do text on video. Don't do both. I have no idea why people are doing both, but it looks terrible. Don't do both. Captions are working really well, but I think the engagement rate is higher on our videos that are a complete package in terms of text is animated and all of that. The other thing that we do is every video has specifically is going to a blog post, where it's a related blog post, or we create one specifically for the video with the Facebook embed on it and instructions for what comes on the video, and then an opt-in for grabbing something that was in the video or a link to one of the products that we sell that is related to that video. So in this case, I'm showing you that Father's Day video again. We're going to Father's Day gift ideas blog post, and what you're seeing here is actually the first comment. So before we even post the video, we've already commented ourselves with the first comment and with an image in that comment and a link to where we want them to go. And that's because if you don't, what ends up happening is the top comment it'll be some hack who thinks that this is the most stupid video that they've ever seen, and 800 people will like it, and then that will be the first comment that's under the video, under your video post. So we're trying to sneak attack and get around that by posting the first comment, and then generally that is getting enough engagement and it's staying. So when you come and you see the post, and I didn't want it to be super squished on this page, you look straight down and you see the video, and then right underneath it you'll see this image and a link to our site. On the ones where I haven't done that, I've really kicked myself, before I started doing that, I've really kicked myself in the butt, because these videos, part of the reason that they're being shared so much is because people either love them or they hate them, right? Everybody has an opinion about, you forgot this, you didn't do this right, and I actually love that engagement on them. This one only has 2 comments. What's the other one? Let's go back. We've had fun on some of these 13,000 comments. That's been fun to hang out with those guys. 37,000 comments, that was fun. We had a lot of people commenting saying, this is the grossest idea I've ever heard of. Why would I put something from a baby wipe container on my chips? And of course we weren't saying like after you use the baby wipes, that's first of all. But I just started replying to those people with the poop emoji. I thought that was the best response. So we had a lot of fun with that, with the comments, but it's true that my client called me in and said, oh my gosh, we're getting, especially on our survival ones, that community of course is, tends to be a little argumentative or whatever, so we were getting a lot of like negative, conversation going. I'm like, but it's great because they keep coming back and they're commenting. So we're seeing that they're not hiding our posts from the page and they're not unliking our page. So we're not getting like actual negative feedback in terms of, them reporting our page or reporting the post. And if so, it's very, very minuscule. So I actually really love I've learned to love the haters. Okay, good. So I went through all that. Again, they only give me 20 minutes. What are the results? I've seen, just off of posting a single video, our page reach is growing organically, audience growth, our engagement per post is increased dramatically, and of course our clicks to website. For example, on this post, on our Learn More, we're doing about 1,000 clicks a day at 10 cents per click to the offer. I don't have the stats with me or know what the conversion rates are on the landing page and all of that. I'm the social team, so I'm going, yay, we won, and as long as they're saying, yay, we're happy, we're good. So, right, we're getting good clicks from this, we're getting good engagement on the ad. Client is super happy at 10 cents per click to their offers. Yeah, organic, natural. You can see the clear start. This was chip bag hack right there. And then on this one, this is more of the survival where we started gradually. Right about here is where we got serious about video, and then we started seeing results, so then we doubled up on the amount of video that we're posting and boosting. So yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to get you guys inspired and interested in doing Facebook video. That's all I have, really. I promise. So I guess I shouldn't have told you.
Yeah, let's open up for questions. So
Yeah,
feel free to
ask me anything. Yeah, go ahead.
How did the 3-second timer that Facebook had as a metric affect any of the?
Yeah, the catch people in 3 seconds thing, it definitely makes an impact. So we have started with, our video team has a little, we do a little opener, and then we do a watch for more, and then keep them going. Most of our people stay on, so we have had some really good 90% views all the way through, and those are on our 30-second videos. On our ones that go 45 seconds to a minute, we're only seeing about 31, 35 seconds of view time that people are watching. But there was one, actually, I was gonna put it in here and I didn't see it in here. We did like a 1, 2, 3, like 3 ways to do this. and it was one of our longer ones, a minute, and people stayed on, and I think that was because we caught them with the, we want you to see all three ways, instead of, I think halfway through some of the explainer videos, people figure out, especially for our DIY, our crafting, right, they kind of figure out how to do the rest of it and go off, so keeping retention is important for us. So yeah, you gotta catch them in 3 seconds. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was wondering if it affected any of the metrics you were reporting.
Any of the other metrics I'm
Right.
reporting?
Well, because they were skewed to be not necessarily engaged, but count as a view, right, for 3 seconds.
Uh-huh.
But that wouldn't necessarily. It was kind of they were. I don't know if Facebook was trying to like skew the system, but they.
I haven't gone back and reviewed all my stats based on views because at this, based on the whole Facebook scandal of video
Right.
views, whatever, because at the end of the day, our pages are growing and thriving, so whether we're hitting them exactly right or whether those numbers are whatever, higher or lower because of something that Facebook did, these pages, when they were just posting link, photo, and text content, were, you know, all the way up until, you know, June and July. So my client actually we kind of went, okay, we got it. We're gonna have to, we can't be like as awesomely proud of our video views as we would like, but it's still, at the end of the day, the impact is overwhelmingly positive on our page. Yeah.
What best practices do you see brands using to attribute their social efforts to revenue?
That's a really good question. So for us, we're direct, this company in particular, we're direct response. So I focus a lot on engagement and growth in social, and then I send it over to our social team. So they send me tracking links to promotions and videos, right? So we're converting to leads. I know that, I keep track of that, and then where we're supporting in social with video ads, you know, I look at conversion numbers, but I don't spend a lot of time there. So I think it's just all in the tracking. I mean, how else would you attribute?
Some sort of unique identifier within a record to pass.
Yeah,
I
we use Infusionsoft, so all of our social activity and tracking is through there. I don't know if I have the right, really well-defined answer for you, but I know how much traffic I'm sending from social to unique landing pages, and then our marketing team is tracking the conversions from social on those pages, whether it's to leads or sales. And then they go, yay, it was a winning campaign, or no, it wasn't. So I don't know, maybe we're not doing anything, maybe we're not high-techy enough about that. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the video content itself and the extent to which you work with clients to produce original videos versus source videos like the Jim Carrey
Yeah.
video?
That's a good question. So on both, I'm working with them on the brainstorming part. I'm doing a lot of the social, the listening. So I'll say I'm doing a lot of listening campaigns to see what other people are doing, what's working out there. I get a lot of my ideas from like really old YouTube videos that still have a lot of views, but they were published like 3 or 4 years ago that I think, okay, this can inspire something that the company can do. This company now has brought everything in-house, so they have an entire team that is deriving the content. I do also look at our analytics. So they were doing a lot of, the video team wanted to be like super creative in the beginning, and they were like doing a lot of this and a lot of that and just see if it would work. And I went to the blog analytics and I said, what have been our best posts for the last year? What has our best content been in our email marketing newsletters? Okay, now let's only do videos based on that content. From there, we'll see what we learn, and then let's create new stuff from there. So, and then the other thing is, the other thing I would say that besides data, from like social proof from other brands and data from inside of our brand, is just that I have tried to have the social person that is manning, the social media manager manning every station, as close to the voice and understanding the avatar for that as possible, because I want their feedback on how it would land for them. So I actually want them an advocate and enthusiast in the space as well, so that they're judging the content on that level. Particularly like with those survival life videos, when we first started doing them, it was like, you forgot this, you forgot that, and it was like, no, we really need a point person. Like hey, I want to survive in the apocalypse as much as anybody else does, but I wouldn't call myself a prepper, right? So me coming up and being the last voice of saying this is going to do well. And then the other thing is it's just been learning. It's just been learning along the way.
And are you able to,
Of what we're gonna
with the videos that you find that are maybe a few years old, but they're still relevant to the clients that you're working with now, do you need to go through a licensing process with that, or is it
No,
just
we completely recreate stuff. So we just use that as inspiration. So like Chip Bag Hack, we saw somebody who created a video and did that, and it's like 3 years old. And we said, okay, let's do it ourselves. So we actually have a studio. This client has 2 studios. One is in LA, one is in the Philippines, and we produce all of our own content. Some of those, so there were a couple where my understanding is this, and so I could be wrong, and somebody else, feel free to tell me if I am. As long as the clips are under like 10 seconds or something, like if it's from a movie or some copyrighted content and we're doing it in a compilation, we're okay. So our video team knows that stuff, and I just say, I think we should do the 10 most inspirational things somebody's ever said in a movie and mash them together, and they go, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might be perceiving incorrectly, but it sounds like most of your videos are targeting either individuals or very, very small, about to start up kind of companies. Have you changed anything about your strategy in terms of like a business-to-business type scenario?
So, actually, most of the ones I showed you are actually to consumer, right? Crafting, makeup, all of that. The small business, the ones that we're doing, or the business ones that we're doing, are the B2B stuff that we're doing is like solopreneur, speaker, author, coach. So ask me your question one more time.
So would you change anything about your presentation or your strategy talking to a business-to-business scenario?
No.
Or does most of that stay the same?
I think it would stay the same. I think the only thing that changes is understanding what they want to know. For instance, the entertainment thing is the thing that I think doesn't get used as much. These are basically just at 30 seconds. This is a mini commercial. So if you're doing business to business, you just want to think more like you're doing a commercial. You're producing a commercial. So I think the content would change, but only would change based on the fact that my audience is different, not the strategies. Like I'm still either going to do something funny. I saw a video and I dug and dug and dug for it to find the post to show you today where it was a B2B video, and they just started. This guy's just sitting behind his computer, and you just see him start looking around, and then he starts singing Weemaluppa Weema, whatever that song is, the jungle song, right? And I'm watching this thing going, the heck is this about, right? But at the same time, for 20 seconds, I'm smiling and enjoying it, and then it was supposed to go to his offer or whatever. So it's just grabbing somebody's attention, having them enjoy watching a video for a few minutes, and then saying, hey, if this is relevant or of interest to you, go here for, come whatever the offer is, wherever you're trying to send them. I don't know that I would change too much. Yeah.
Are there any peak times or days that you saw were most effective?
Yeah. That's a really good question. It's actually been different across the board. And what we did was we just tested. So for 1 week we released all videos at 9 a.m. Central, and another week we did it at 11 a.m. Or noon, so lunchtime. And so we found on each day and for each time, that's just how we figured it out. So it was different. We had one of our brands does really well late at night, so we're releasing videos around 11 p.m. sometimes, and another brand does really well at 6 in the morning. So yeah, but the way to do it is I would just test consistently on the same day for a week at the same time, and then change it up to sort of land on what time works best. Yep.
I'm wondering about global audiences, because we talked about retention rates, and I feel like, this is terrible to say, I feel like U.S. audiences are kind of ADD. Whereas when I've done, let's say, YouTube videos in the Netherlands, they'll watch 20 minutes of video straight.
Yes. So I have a couple of different audiences that I work with, and one is what I call I've actually have a bunch of different audiences that I've tested. So I actually mapped out all, I don't know, now I'm going to sound dumb probably if I didn't already, like 200 countries into 10 country segments, and ran the same amount of traffic at the same amount of times to all of those different ones. We found unique pockets of really interesting countries, and genders in countries that were really enthusiastic about our videos far more than even a US audience is. So in order to support a video and help boost it in the very beginning, I'm relying on a little bit of that data to get some social proof on the videos, because I know these audiences are loving our content. So I think I think it's a win-win. I've had a lot of people look at me crazy, like, why are you running content in countries that that you don't sell product to? And I'm like, because I don't care. I just want people to like my videos. It's like right now the name of the game is brand awareness. It's to share our page. So yeah, I'm totally playing outside. As a matter of fact, only really our survival page is the one where I'm super exclusive to the US, because it even is almost, well, it's not, but our page is really US based. All of our products we sell only here. But all the rest of them, I mean, people do crafts all over the world. So yeah, I'm finding really cool, interesting pockets of places where I can get, 4,000 views for a penny or something, and if people are consuming them, they're sharing them, they're tagging their friends in them, they're really loving them, and so, why not serve that community? No one else is, so yeah.
How important do you find it is to actually get the following of people following your page on Facebook? Do you find that you have to boost to reach people anyways, or does that actually
Yeah.
help to run a live campaign?
It does. So now that we've been doing it a while, we get really, when we originally post, we get good organic, and then I'll decide if I'm going to boost later. But in the beginning, again, just with testing time and trying to support posts, I did a static, like flat $100 across the board on every video just to get the immediate engagement. But now that it's been like 3 months or so, I've cut that back to where I'll only, so we post, I wait an hour, I boost $20 or whatever, I wait a day, and then I decide if I think that piece of content is worthy of further support. So yeah, we have not really spent as much as you might think that we've spent on all of these campaigns, and we've put out hundreds of videos. So I have a little ranking system in terms of how, does it have some virality on its own, and if so, I will support it. And if it's not, because as many as videos as we're putting out and different audiences and stuff, I mean, not every single one has been a win. I mean, a lot of these that you saw have been sort of the highlight reel. Some of them have been duds. A lot of them have been duds. And if so, I'm not going to put money behind it. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at both the organic and then what if I support it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you primarily boost these videos, or do you ever run video ads?
We do. The inspirational one I showed you is video ad. Yeah.
Can you tell the difference between engagement? I mean, is there what is your process behind that, like your strategy?
Yeah. Okay, so for me personally, this is how I'm doing it, is when it's content for the page and I'm considering it just like a page post, I just deal with boosts. I just do boosts. But when we're doing, when we actually have a traffic strategy behind it, like we're doing a campaign to a product, or like for that one where we have an offer, I will move over to Ads Manager, just because I can get more detailed and I can target groups of video viewers and retargeting buckets of people in the Ads Manager that I want to, plus I can see all the data better. So kind of to me on my page post stuff that I just like, ooh, I want people to like that content and share it as a piece of content on our Facebook page, I'll just boost. But then the more important stuff, is that a technical term? Yeah? The more important stuff I'll move over to Ads Manager and deal with it there.
Hey Kate,
Yeah.
do you find any correlation between the time of day that someone watches a video and whether or not the audio is played? Because it seems like
I have not.
most people watching, say at
It's
work, would not play
90%.
audio.
It's 90% of our video is watched silently, so I'm gonna go with 90% of the day. I haven't looked at where people are turning it on and when they're not. I'm just going, 90% is a very large number to say, okay, I'm not really worried about, I'm not paying attention to those 10%. With as many brands as I have, is, just from a scalability standpoint, I don't have time to focus on that. That's probably not the best answer, but it really is. Like, I just kind of have those 10% of people that are turning it on. Yay. They get music. They get music. I'm producing videos for people that I don't think are ever going to turn the video on, and So sorry I don't have a better answer.
No, that's okay. It's figured a lot of people watch videos at work and wouldn't.
I think people watch videos everywhere. I think there's people watching Facebook video right now that are looking down at their phone watching Facebook video and they don't want to turn it on. You know, it's like, I'll open up, you could be at dinner and you open it up and you're just checking your notifications and then you close it and you're in the news feed and then there's a cat video and you're like, shit, I'm at dinner, but good thing it doesn't play music. So yeah, 90% of people not watching with video tells me that it's everywhere. It's all day. I have to think when I do actually turn on the video. Turn on the audio, excuse me.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah.
Last
Cool.
question.
Yeah?
When you were when you were showing that graph of kind of the spike in likes,
Mhm.
it was due to the DIY video or the chip hack.
Chip bag hack, yeah.
What would you recommend for, say, a company that's just starting out that might not have, the base of that graph was about 70,000 likes already,
Yep.
so there was already a very solid group of people that were interested in that page.
Yeah, but they really weren't engaged, so that's one thing to
So I
consider.
guess my question would be, what would you recommend for, a company that has just a significantly smaller group of followers in their page? How long would you say would be appropriate to put into Facebook video? Because, you said that you spent maybe a day putting that video together, but if a company only had 1,000 Facebook likes, putting an entire day into that video, you still might only get 500 views.
I think you've got to figure out a way to put something into it. So we're doing at least one video per brand per week. We've been trying to scale that up for most of the brands. Our big ones are 3 videos per week, and then I'm running them in between. You can get a lot of mileage out of a good video. The answer is or outsource it or find a way to make it happen. There's some of the smaller brands I've worked with, like doing a slide share and recording it into a video and slapping something on top. Or the best thing about live is that there's no editing or anything needed. It only takes the amount of time that it takes you to shoot it. So look at some of the different templates or different formats to do and find one that's kind of abbreviated. Even if you did an Animoto video, I think you'll get more traction out of just having something that is video. Yeah. Okay, cool. I survived. Yay!
Thank you so much. We ended just in time, a few minutes early. So, quick plug, we're having a CRO talk at the WP Engine office this afternoon. So if you aren't RSVP'd to that, check it out on the schedule. And thank you so much for coming. Rachel.
I work with a company called DCI, Digital Creative Institute. We're a startup based out of San Antonio. We're expanding into Austin. Our value prop is that we're training the next generation of digital talent. People that are fresh out of college who didn't get any real training in college.
I love this already.
We do it through an apprenticeship program. It's like an MBA program with teams together. We help place new talent into agencies and then train them throughout the year at 9 months while they're still employed. It's custom tailored curriculum to what they actually need to do. So this one is in Austin. Maybe we can so that see if trying to anticipate the need for talent before you need it, so that you'll go out and get it first.
That's fantastic.
And it's all based off of similar to what an MBA program would be. The students pay for the program, so they're looking to further their skill set. They're willing to invest in it, so it's great talent.
And you learn by doing, so that's perfect.
All the instructors are people who are practically applying it right now in their agencies.
Yeah.
So it's leading edge technology and application versus just like a different piece of paper. It's like, oh yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world to get a data piece of paper and it's done. And then if they need further instruction, like say I need help on doing your work or I'm having this problem with this particular client, we'll get advice through our mentorship. So it's been fantastic. Our first cohort started in January, so we're 9 months in. Our second one started in August. We've got 8 students in each of them. And then we're starting a new cohort in January in Austin and San Antonio. 10 students in each of them.
Wow, that's so cool. So how would you, like, if someone were asking what the difference between an internship and like this would be? It's
one, it's paid, and two, they're getting education at night.
Right, okay.
In all things digital. So there's 12 core competencies that we teach. We also require that each of our applicants, before they enter the program, have to go through HubSpot certification, Google AdWords, and Analytics.
That's so good.
We help them walk through the process, and then we educate and coach them on how to get a job, look for how to target companies, how to work the front end of it before they get placed, and then once they're placed, we foster the onboarding process. So we're working with HR departments to say, hey, this is what our talent needs to know ahead of time, we're working with them on that, and then part of the curriculum is management inside the company, because we found a disconnect in what we know how to work with support structures.
It's so true.
So we help coach that as well. And we work hand in hand with the placement company. So an internship would normally, everything is on the burden of the company, whereas we work in partnership to get more education on our side, because there may be skills that they wouldn't get in an internship, they wouldn't get exposure to, that we're going to coach them on.
Thanks for introducing yourself. This is so cool. So like digital creative is just kind of the realm of, when you said HubSpot, and it's just like,
it's more digital marketing, but we touch on the facets of creativity and coding to help them so that they have an understanding what they're asking someone to help in the realm of marketing. So there's a team environment, if you say, hey, I need this, and you're asking for something that takes 6 days versus an hour, so you have an
I'll send you a note. I don't have a card on me, unfortunately, but I will send you a note. We have a San Antonio office as well. I don't know if they're out of Geekdom. So yeah. But yeah.
That's actually where we're at.
Oh really?
Yeah, we work out of
So you know we have an office there, or
actually
we just moved out. I'm sorry.
I didn't think we really had one. I just moved to Boston 2 months ago. It started 2 months ago, so I've been working out of the San Antonio office until we started the new cohort action, which is now for Boston.
Is it out of the Capital Factory?
We are actually going to be working out of how far is the allocation?
We worked, yeah, great.
So that starts in January once the cohort takes off. So then we'll have space there when we have classes for it.
That is so neat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will send you an email because that is just such a cool idea. Kind of like my journey coming to Austin. I really had no idea what I wanted to work in tech, and I just wanted to go for it. I kind of just figured it out. Like I stuck my way in a but yeah, this is so cool. So I will reach out to you for sure.
Great. And anybody you know that's looking for new talent or new talent?
Yeah, our recruiting team definitely. I'll send this to them. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Great meeting you. You should come to our office. Our session this afternoon.
We're planning on sales on the schedule. We're actually going to go to an appointment, possible placement. We're going to run back.
Good. And we have a happy hour afterwards, so.
Bye.